Hey, this is Amy Collins, and I really want to welcome you, and I'm so excited about today's session. I am here with Richard Riemann. Richard and I met quite a few years ago. We're not going to say how many. I think, Richard, Judith Briles introduced us
That's
from Author
correct.
U from out in Colorado. And one of the reasons why I wanted Richard to come on and talk to all of you is because you know how excited I am about audiobooks. You've heard me say that in the library market, audiobooks are they overcame and blew past ebooks ages ago. They're almost 28% of the budgets now in a number of top libraries across the United States. They're 23% of our industry. Audiobooks are growing, and for those of you especially who are listening to this on a podcast, you know as well as I do, more and more people are listening to books. They are getting their entertainment and their education audibly. So I would love to introduce you to Richard. I'm going to ask him a number of questions, and some of you guys have actually written in and asked me questions to ask him. So with that, I'd like to welcome Richard, Richard, if it's cool with you, I'd love to get started by asking first thing, how did you get into this? What's your background? Why are you an audiobook guy?
Well, I came into audiobooks through radio news, actually. I was on the air at WMAQ in Chicago, WLS in Chicago, RKO Radio Networks, and WTOP in Washington. So I was comfortable in front of a microphone telling stories, and it was just a natural thing. I used to read to my kids all the time to narrate audiobooks. And so I've narrated over 50 and produced another 200 more. But I love what I do. It's basically being paid to tell stories.
Fantastic. And have you seen a uptick in audiobook requests? I know we've seen an uptick in audiobook sales, but have you seen more authors trying to get audiobooks done in the last year or two?
Absolutely. It really is the golden age of audiobooks. People are realizing that the growth is tremendous. It's the fastest growing way to publish. And that if you get into audio, you get a new fan base entirely. And a lot of people are asking authors, do they have an audiobook? Do they have an audiobook? So it's becoming more and more popular.
I'm under the impression, and this is part of the industry I don't know as much about, so I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm under the impression that it is somewhat simple to turn a book into an ebook, but it's not simple to turn a book into an audiobook. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think that a number of my author buddies are a little intimidated by the process. Can you walk us through some of the steps that take a book from a finished printed copy or an ebook copy into the audio world? Is there a series of steps that authors should be aware of?
Sure. There are two paths you can take. And that is if you want to narrate your own audiobook or you want to find a narrator, a great narrator for your audiobook. And the first path is being the voice of your own audiobook. And I know you've done past webinars and podcasts on how authors can voice their own audiobooks. But the tricky part is
A select few of them
yes,
should voice their own audiobooks. Most of them should not. And so if you've heard me, guys, you've heard me say that it's I don't do audiobooks, and let's face it, I'm brilliant. It's a very specific skill, guys. I'm sorry, Richard, go ahead.
yeah. If you're a public speaker, if you are a teacher, if you have an acting background, yes, especially if it's going to be part of your business promotion, then perhaps you should be the voice of your audiobook. But it's not the recording of it that's the problem. It's the editing, the mastering, the uploading of files to either Amazon, which owns ACX and Audible, the Audiobook Creation Exchange, or Findaway Voices, which is coming up fast as the #2 distributor right now. So you need to have a little help usually in those areas. I provide that help to a lot of authors because there are 16 different steps you have to go through to get a book up on ACX or Findaway,
So
and lots of
you
decisions to make.
so you you actually help an author if they have recorded their own audiobook, but they need editing and producing and mastering and uploading. Do you do that for people?
Yes, we do. And
what's your website? How would people get a hold of you if they wanted help with that?
well, my first website is audiobookrevolution.com, and that's my full service website where people can sign up to get a free consultation on what it will take to create their audiobook or get it edited and mastered and uploaded. And then the second part is finding a narrator. And that's where you go either to ACX or to Findaway, or you have me as your, production manager, and we take the path together. You have an escort on how to do that. But Amy, the most exciting thing that's happening right now is we have a way for authors to record their own audiobooks from home, studio quality. And by that, I mean over the internet using a Chrome browser. And if you're a podcaster, you have the equipment already. If you don't, the equipment needed is less than $200 to purchase. And you'd have a microphone and headphones and everything that works really well. And we call this the Virtual Recording Studio at virtualrecording.studio. And it's a brand new effort. Everything is taken care of. You are directed in your headphones from our studio in Denver, where they use the punch and roll method, where basically if you make a mistake, they roll back and you hear the last sentence and then pick it up as you go. And that saves a lot of editing time and expense. And bottom line is that it's edited for you. It's mastered for you. So if you do have a room echo or a little too loud noise floor, that's taken care of. It's all cleaned up and then uploaded to Findaway Voices and distributed to 32 different places, including Audible and Walmart and library catalogs and, some international sites. And the most exciting thing that's coming up in June, and this is also brand new, is that you will have the ability to sell your audiobook from your own website. And that is something where you can make about 70% royalty share on every sale from your website. It's like selling in the back of the room when you speak. And that is going to be game-changing, I think.
Richard, can you explain to the listeners very, very briefly, I'm not asking for in-depth, but for those who are not aware, ACX, which is owned by Amazon, and
Right.
Findaway Voices, they're competitors, right?
They are.
And what are the differences between them? I would love to get, you're much more in tune and on the front lines with this. What would you say are the differences between the two different companies?
Well, first, Amazon ACX. ACX is their production arm, and Audible is their distribution arm. And they're number one. They're the 800-pound gorilla. And what they ask you to do is sign up exclusively to a 7-year agreement where you can only sell your audiobook on Audible. They used to have an iTunes option, and that's going away. So you're locked into a 7-year contract, but not really. Here's a little secret. After 1 year of being exclusive, if you paid for production, all it takes is an email and you can go non-exclusive and be able to sell your audiobook more widely.
But with ACX, a lot of authors are choosing not to pay for production. They're splitting the cut with an ACX vendor, an ACX voice. And is that not an option for them?
Yeah, that's not an option for them. If you go royalty share, then you're kind of locked into that 7 years of splitting your royalties 50-50, 20% each actually is what you end up getting. Findaway Voices, on the other hand, is wide distribution. So it's the equivalent of, the Draft to Digitals of the world, or the
Well, it's a sister company of Draft to Digital.
Yes, they work together.
Hmm.
They are partners, and and I'm one of their partners too. And basically, with Findaway, you can get on Audible, and you can get on Apple Books, audiobooks. And as I mentioned, the Walmart catalogs, the library catalogs, 32 different places. And the royalties vary. It's 25 to 45%. For instance, Apple Books pays 45% royalties on your sales through them. And next month through Findaway, I hope it'll be next month, they're finalizing things right now, you'll be able to get those 70% royalties by putting your book up on a page and directing people right to that page where they can buy it, and you get the money directly. It comes to you, and it's really better for people who want to reach widely and not be limited to Audible.
Which I highly recommend, guys. I usually, when people ask me, I say, well, I need to know your situation. Not in this case. Guys, in this case, go wide. Always. I've yet to see a situation where it made a great deal of sense to niche in and narrow in, other than for people who just don't have the bandwidth or they're not interested in taking the time. But Richard, my experience is that working with Findaway, working with ACX, working with a company like yours, I've said this: time, money, talent. Pick any two. You're either going to invest the time or you're going to invest the money. You have to invest one or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
And the cost will be to produce an audiobook, like through my company, $30 to $37 per 1,000 words. In other words, a 50,000 word book would be $1,500 to produce. $37 covers the whole virtual studio thing I mentioned, and that's still under $2,000 for a 50,000 word book.
And
So
what is the website for that again, where people, if they want to get a hold of you?
yeah, for the virtual recording, it's virtualrecording.studio, not .com, virtualrecording.studio.
Okay.
And my company site is audiobookrevolution.com if you want to find a narrator or, narrate it yourself in Denver, which is where I live, and have a partner studio.
Guys, I just want to be real clear. Richard and I, there's no reciprocity here. I mean, if you, I adore his work. I recommend him, but I'm not getting anything for this. He agreed to come on today and share his time to teach us about audiobooks. And, for those of you who are jotting this down, I will have the links right here on the web. If you're watching this on YouTube, the links are right below the video. If you're watching it on my webpage, they're right next to it. If you're listening to it on a podcast, and you have questions, you can email Richard. Richard, where should people get a hold of you if they have a question?
Well, my best email is richard@audiobookrevolution.com.
All right.
So that makes it simple for people to reach me with any questions at all. Happy to help.
All right. So I've got a couple of questions that my authors sent me to ask you. Do you mind if I rapid fire some Q&A at you?
Go for it.
One of my authors was curious how much, if she was going to record her own audiobook, and all she told me is she has a 300-page novel. I'm assuming probably about 300 words per page.
Okay.
So that's probably about 90,000 words. How much time should she set aside to record her own novel? Even if she used someone like you, but how much time does it take?
Well, the average narration rate is 9,300 words per hour. So basically a 90,000 word book is going to be almost 10 hours
10
long.
hours, yeah.
And to record that, recording it's a 2-for-1 ratio. So now you're into 20 hours. Okay, now you've got to edit it and learn editing and all that type of thing. And you have to add 3 to 5 hours per hour of recorded audio.
So 25 hours.
Yes. It becomes easily 60 to 80 hours to do a full audiobook production, edited, mastered, uploaded.
60 hours.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Well, whereas if you hire a pro, they do that for you. They narrate it, they edit it, they master it, and upload it, and that's all taken care of for you. And the cost is dramatically less in time.
all right. All right. And if somebody wanted to get an audiobook up on a particular timeline, leaving aside the hours, like if somebody approached me with a manuscript and said, I'd like to turn this into a book, I would tell them that minimum 90 days. Minimum. I mean, we have to edit, we have to copy edit, we have to proofread. Yeah. When someone comes to you with a 260-page book and they want it out right away, it has to be out right away. What is a reasonable time?
Yeah. The shortest time is 60 days. And it's just the way it is because of the process of, getting it recorded, getting it edited, and then getting it uploaded. And then either ACX or Findaway Voices will take 2 to 3 weeks on their end before it's up for sale. So I usually quote 90 days to really have a good idea of when it will be available. But I've seen it be even longer than that, unfortunately. And every time we have tried to time it to be with their book, when their book comes out, it hasn't worked. There's too many things that can get in the way, things that can cause delays. You do have to kind of have a long timeline. But you can start the moment you have the final manuscript. Mm-hmm. Once you have that, that's when you can start on your audiobook production.
All right. I guess my last question for you, and it's not from an author, it's from me. Mm-hmm. Is there one or two things, I'll take one, although I'd love to, but is there anything that you wish all authors knew about audiobooks? Is there like a common theme of things that you're constantly hearing that you're just like, boy, I wish everyone would just understand that blank? What is something that you wish authors could take away and really internalize when it comes to your industry?
Mm-hmm. Well, I like to tell authors audiobooks can really help your writing because reading your words out loud, even to yourself, will help you with catching mistakes, catching repetition. Basically, audiobooks, you've written the lyrics, and when you add the voice, you're adding the music, a performance of your words. So you're giving your book a voice, and it's really important to do that. It used to be, that they were only for the blind in the 1920s. They were illegal for sighted people to buy audiobooks because they were only for the blind. And now, of course, it has expanded so much. As you said, through podcasting, podcasts are, the kids tell me that audiobooks are just the long podcasts. Mm-hmm. And that really now is the time to get on board because the technology is all headed that way. You can listen in your car. You can listen on your phone. You can listen through Echo, Amazon Echo devices and yes. Google Voice devices. It's all headed in the direction of audiobooks being the next big thing.
I can sit in a business trip in San Diego, California, knowing that I need to drive up the coast, and I can log on to my personal Rochester, New York Public Library app and download an audiobook from San Diego and have it on my phone and playing through my car speakers in a matter of moments.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, and Audible is built into all the new cars. There's an Audible channel or an iTunes channel where you can listen to your audiobooks.
Yeah.
You can even have Alexa play your audiobook for you, which is a great thing if you're just in a room and want to hear a really rich sounding audiobook through a speaker.
Yeah, well, as long as they open the pod bay doors first, and then I'm good. Right. Richard, thank you so much for joining us. This has been incredibly educational. Remind everyone one more time, if they have questions for you, what is the website? How should they get a hold of you?
Okay. The main website is audiobookrevolution.com. They can reach me at richard@audiobookrevolution.com. And also for the virtual recording concept, the details are at virtualrecording.studio.
Everyone, will be back next week. Thank you so much for sitting in on this session about audiobooks. For those of you who are members of our Bestseller Builders group, we will have another session next week. And if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my channel. I would absolutely love to help you become a bestseller.